Hello, America. Live from CBNN News headquarters, I'm Carmine Lee Adams, and this is the Comic News. Lead story tonight. Comic book prices seem to be stabilizing if you were paying attention to the recent Heritage auction that just took place this past Friday. Let's take a look at the results. Superman #1, still the king of comics. A 5.0 CGC came in at $675,000. Next up, we have Batman #1, and here we have some interesting data. Batman #1 in a 1.8 sold for $126,000, down from the $180,000 in April of last year, almost a 40% reduction. But to show that quality still matters, if you get to the Batman #1 in a 6.0, that sold for $552,000. If you compare that to the 6.5 that sold in 2021 for $576,000, or the pre-auction fair market value estimated at $390,000, you could say that Batman is still getting it done, folks. So all of you out there that are looking at getting those Silver Age Batman keys, well done. Keep it going. They're not making any more of them. Next up, we had Flash #1. This one surprised me. Sold for $192,000. And during the auction, it looked like it was going to close out at around $75,000, $80,000. And then the bidding war began, and it ran it up to almost a cool $200,000. Flash still seems to have staying power, and it's the only superhero of the big ones that hasn't had its own movie yet. The first Flash movie, if you can believe it, will happen later this year. Flash stock could be on the way up. Some other notables: Phantom Lady 5.0 sold for $30,000. You rewind 10 years ago, that was a $3,600 book. Kudos to those collecting the Phantom Lady. AF-15 has stabilized a bit. Looks like the floor is in for that book. A 6.5 sold for $96,000. Compared that to the 2022 sale price in the same grade of $120K, or the 2020 sales price in the same grade of $72K, it looks like we're putting in a floor on those AF-15s. A 9.2 took the top spot with a sales price of $810,000. Woo! Not bad, folks. Not bad at all. There was also an AF-15 and a 5.5 that sold for $66,000, which is only slightly ahead of the October 2022 $55,000 for that book. ASM #1 and a 7.0 went for $30,000. That's right about in the middle of where the last two sales have been, and seems to be stabilizing. We also had Hulk 181 in a 9.8. This book right here in a 5.0, obviously not a 9.8. But we had this book sell for $69,000. That is a significant reduction off the average prices that were around $95,000 for a Hulk 181 in a 9.8. Not quite sure what's going on there. But Hulk 1 in a 7.5 went for $58,000, and that is also down. So Flash stock up, Batman stock stabilized, AF-15 and Spider-Man doing well, but Hulk is smashing, and in the wrong direction, folks. So as we see Incredible Hulk stock going down and books like Hulk 1 and Hulk 181 going down in value, this news anchor thinks he's got a theory, and that brings me to our very popular segment, What Are You Doing? Today on What Are You Doing? I'm curious, what's the guy doing that sells books for 30% or more below fair market value? See if you can follow me. You've got an established price, like for this book, that just happens to be mine. And this book, about 7 months ago, had a fair market value of $4,300. Now, because of you selling your 5.0 for $3,000, now the fair market value that was here is now here because nobody expects to pay $4,300 anymore. You know what they want to pay? They want to pay the $3,000 that you sold your book for. What are you doing? 10% is a great discount. Heck, 20% is a great discount. 30% or more is not a great discount. It is messing us all up. Here's another example. This is a 9.8. Frank Miller signed Dark Knight Returns #1. Cover that changed the game in many ways. Do you know that this cover art is the third highest selling cover art ever? $2.4 million last year this original artwork went for. And so you would think if you have a signed copy of this book in a 9.8, you probably wouldn't want to discount it too much now, would you? No, not this guy. The guy that sells the book for under 30% below market value. Well, we had a sale, several sales actually, of around $2,500 for this book. And then you came along and sold yours for $1,800. Thanks for your help. What are you doing? What are you doing? Just sell the book for a minor discount and everybody wins. And this has been tonight's segment. What are you doing? I was told this week that you can't have a news program without having the weather. So we go now to our stellar correspondent, Rob, otherwise known as Flap 311, with our Storm Tracker First Watch AccuTrack in sync award-winning advanced notice Doppler radar. Rob, what's the weather like out there?
It's snowing, Rob. Back to you.
They don't call him the best weatherman in the business for nothing. Thanks for that report, Rob. Also this week, it was announced that Tidal Wave Comics will release a comic book titled Female Force, Brittany Griner. That's right, January 18th, we'll see a new 22-page comic book hit the shelves that chronicles the life of Brittany Griner, from her time at Baylor University to her meteoric rise in the WNBA and the tens of fans that they have watching, right up to the time where she fought for her freedom because she brought some weed into Russia. Really, how could you go into Russia without bringing weed? That's a dark place, folks. All the best, Brittany. And finally tonight, this week in comic book history. January 1962, prices were going up in the comic book game. That's right, Superman 150 went from 10 cents to 12 cents an issue for the first time, and Tales of Suspense number 25 was the last time that issue saw a 10-cent price tag. Now we look at the prices and we wonder, man, wouldn't it be nice to go back there? And on this day in history, the birth of Martin Luther King Jr. on this day in 1929 in Atlanta. Thank you, sir, for changing the game for everyone. And that's the news, the comic book news, for this, the 15th day of January 2023. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Carmine Lee Adams, and you've been watching the Comic News.